This program is sponsored by Auckland City Council. 56,827. The number of businesses in Auckland City. That's 15% of all New Zealand businesses.
Dr. Ifzal, as Chief Economist, how do you see the emerging power of Asia in the world scene?
Well, by 2025, in purchasing power parity terms, China will be the biggest economic power in the world, and India will be third, and in between will be the United States. So in terms of mega trends, Asia will be the center of the earth in the 21st century.
And what are the challenges that you foresee in its emergence?
Well, one of the characteristics of Asia has been, it has always been resilient in the face of turbulence. Having said that, in this process of rapid growth, what we are witnessing now are huge increases in inequalities across regions, across households, and this is raising major social and political tensions. I see this as a major risk that has to be addressed over the next 10 to 20 years.
Can you be specific in pointing certain countries within the Asian context?
We are seeing very large increases in disparities in China, particularly between the urban and the rural areas. We are seeing large disparities in India, again between rural and urban areas, as well as huge disparities between people who have college education and people who don't. We find that people who have had college education, their per capita consumption has been increasing at 2.5 to 3 times of that at the people who have just high school education. This itself is creating huge increases in disparities.
And there is also a lot of segregation among religious grounds and ethnic grounds as well in the Asian countries.
Well, this is a problem which is more pertinent for South Asia rather than the other countries of East Asia. The East Asian countries are fairly homogeneous, and hence the problem is much less there. In the Indian subcontinent, we see this problem at its most acute. However, with rapid economic progress, some of these issues will begin to take care of themselves.
Do you see some sort of inclination and willingness on part of the Indian government as a whole towards alleviating that problem?
Yes, the Indian government, this present government, has been particularly active in recognizing this problem of disparities, inequalities and iniquities, and it is taking major steps, particularly in addressing this problem in the rural areas.
Now, India, when compared with China, how do you see, where do you see India?
Well, India at the moment is 10 to 12 years behind China. However, there is a lot of potential for India because it is starting from such a low base to catch up and exceed China over the next 30 to 40 years. Particularly what we see in India is the vibrancy of the private sector, which has become the engine of growth. And with Indian companies, with their innovativeness, with their drive, with their will to succeed, they will be the drivers of growth of the future India. And that is where I am confident that India will rapidly catch up to China over the next 2 decades.
And you're happy about the inclusiveness on part of the Indian government? The inclusiveness of
the latest 5-year plan, the approach paper to that, its 2 main goals are ratcheting up growth rates and making that growth more inclusive. So at the highest policy level, inclusiveness of growth has become the battle cry, and that will be so for the next 20 years.
Like, isn't it a paradox? On one hand, we are witnessing rapid acceleration of growth in India, but on the other, you find hundreds and thousands of farmers committing suicide.
Well, that is one of the paradoxes, and that is one area where I think we have been remiss. This is one of the areas where the rural areas have been neglected, but I think the present government is taking active measures to address these problems. But it will take a long time for the effects to be felt.
Now, finally, your impressions on the first Asia Access Business Summit.
I think there is a lot of desire on the part of New Zealand business to tap into the potential that Asia provides. After all, as I have said already, developing Asia will occupy much of the 21st century in terms of excellence in growth performance. So it is a good time to explore these ideas, to share ideas with each other, and to jump into the fray and make the most of the opportunities that are coming.
This program was sponsored by Auckland City Council. 185. The number of ethnic groups in Auckland City. 38. The percentage of Auckland residents who were not born in New Zealand.